Hello and welcome to this episode of Bridging Talks. I'm your host Majid Hashmi, and today we are joining with Daniel Ring. So Dan and me, we met in Venture Cafe Tokyo, and we had a nice chat. He was doing a talk about something about how
Recruitment in Japan, right?
yes, it was about HR and recruitment. That's right. And I will leave Dan to do the introduction. So welcome to the podcast, Dan. So if you can just introduce yourself and yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm Dan Ring. I run a company called Elevate, which is a HR consultancy slash now HR tech company, I guess. And My focus really is on helping organizations leverage new ways of working and new technology to improve autonomy and agency in their organizations, which I think actually has a knock-on effect and improves efficiency and opportunity for both employees and for businesses. Um, and I guess my background is I worked in finance and fintech for over 12 years in HR roles there across UK, Singapore, and also Japan. And in those roles, I picked up a lot of experience, a lot of thoughts on how we run things like how we run our people strategy, and that covers things like performance, pay, engagement, retention, etc. Elevate at the moment is really focused on a new product we're developing called the People Protocol. So this is essentially a trustless and data-driven approach to performance management. We found that many companies rely on the quality of their managers to deliver effective performance reviews. And obviously, whilst it's great to get that, it does lack consistency. Not to mention that the hours spent on both the administrative side of things and also the, I guess, the actual sessions themselves can be quite significant, 25 to even 40% for some managers spending time on managing performance reviews and doing write-ups, etc. And a lot of this information is pulled into an HR system, which is then not really utilized beyond the process of completing the review. And there's a lot of qualitative statements in there, and you're very much reliant on your manager and the employee being able to remember everything they've done and be able to have an effective conversation around that. So we want to change that. We want to
Mm.
actually have performance driven by data and metrics, and our system starts with a connected set of objectives. We then pull in data from the system you use every day to manage or assess your performance against those. And we look at a combination of skills, behaviors, and the way you deliver in role, as well as your KPI delivery to make sure we get as much of a rounded approach to it as possible. And the idea is it's really admin minimal. So managers go in and do a checklist once a quarter, which gives them a comprehensive review of what the employee's been doing. They get to see all the data about what they've been working on, and we'll kind of you can add context as you go. Both employees and managers can do that, but the idea is it's really as lightweight as possible. And the idea is that also that founders and then subsequently investors, when they're talking to their board, get to see a comprehensive overview of what's going on in the organization, where the people issues are, and how to deal with those things.
Okay, so that's great, Dan. Thanks for telling us. If you could just summarize this platform that you're currently developing, what are the main problems it's trying to solve?
Main problem it's trying to solve
Yeah.
is, I think, first of all, gather useful data on performance, relevant and useful data. Uh, it's looking to save time and money for both managers and also investors. So investors, when they look at new organizations they're
Mm.
looking to purchase, they'll do due diligence on a organization, and part of that is people and culture and leadership. And you have to pull together much. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants who go and do this work. So we want to actually do all that through the performance process as is, to ensure that that's not needing to be done. So we're saving money, saving time, and making the process fairer and more transparent as well.
Okay, all right, I see. Yeah, so yeah, like most companies, when they want this type of support, they hire consultants. So this is like a self-service for people who just want to use a platform to get what they're looking for.
Yeah, I think the thing for us was, well, we do this process. Most companies do some kind of performance management process. Um, why don't we get in on that and actually collect the data that they're putting into the system and use that to feed business insights in a much more um, structured and accurate way.
Okay, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for telling us that. So what we'll do is we'll get back on the platform stuff and what you do more in a second. So what
Yeah,
we're interested in now is about just going to talk about like your background. So I was looking at like your LinkedIn and you've got some career history working at NatWest as well, and some other companies. If you can just start tell us like how you started, like
yeah, sure.
your
So
career journey, like from when you graduated to
yeah,
where you are right now. So that'd be great.
sure.
Yeah,
So I graduated
yeah.
in 2011, um, right in the mix of a pretty difficult job environment. And I did an English literature degree. So it was a little bit challenging to find an organization that wanted to pick me up. And I was kind of
Mm,
scouring around thinking about what I wanted to do as well. Through various different contacts and calls I had, I ended up taking a role as a intern at a brokerage firm in London, and it was an HR internship. So I moved to London, started working with those guys on, in fact, performance and talent development, and then their grad program and other bits and pieces. Um, After about a year with them, I moved to a US company where I worked out for a few weeks, or for a few months,
mm,
helping them integrate their HR information system and road test some of that stuff that they were doing, or the processes they were looking at as they were trying to integrate that. And then I moved to what was RBS,
mm.
basically became NatWest, spent time with them supporting their HR business partners. So in HR,
Yeah.
just briefly for those that aren't in HR, you have different what they call centers of excellence across HR.
Mm,
So you've got people that do your pay,
mm,
look at how you calculate bonuses and stuff. You've got people that look at performance. So how do you assess performance effectively? You have people that look at learning and development. So it's who are our top people, how do we grow them and teach them? And then there's the legal side of things, what they call employee relations, as well as hiring. But sometimes hiring does sit separately, but they call it talent acquisition. And these are all kind of different pools that sit within HR. And then we
mm,
have HR business partners, which sit alongside business heads and look at all aspects of HR and say, okay, how does it relate specifically to your business? And how do we leverage what we've got in terms of resource and teams, and what do we need to prioritize, what projects we need to run specific to your business? So looking at people strategy for
mm,
teams or groups within an organization. So the work I was doing was mainly across performance and then a bit of pay as well, and promotions. I ran the promotions around RBS at one point, and that was working closely with the HR business partners who were the connectors into the business heads and talk to them every day. And then I moved to Singapore in 2015 to help with a lot of the restructuring work that was going on at the time. Worked with an amazing team there, learned a lot. I was supposed to stay for a year, ended up staying for 3.5. Um, Took a role as the HR business partner in what became NatWest Markets,
mm.
forward business, supporting the sales and trading teams there across the region. Before eventually coming over to Japan to head up the HR function there, which was very small by then,
Yeah.
but we did a lot of work on understanding how the processes worked, what we could simplify, and we ended up consolidating everything back into the Singapore hub. I decided to stick around after that.
Mm,
I didn't want to leave Japan. I was quite settled. So I left NatWest and I moved to another company called Broadridge, where we worked on they'd made a big acquisition at the time, who had a big presence in Asia. So my coverage was again HR business partnering for Asia, and I worked
mm,
with the HR team that was coming into the business to look at how we harmonize and connect the two businesses together. And then, whilst doing day-to-day business partnering support for the head of Asia, before moving into a role looking at global projects. So we
mm,
did some work on career frameworks, rolling out a new career framework into the rest of the business outside of the US, and that was like 14, 15 plus countries, and working with all the stakeholders related to that, and then restructuring work as well. So we're looking at how we could readjust the leadership team to be more effective for clients, and keep it lean, keep it simple. So I help with the data primarily, a lot of that work, and work with the strategy team on that. And then eventually closing that project, I left Broadridge and started my own consultancy, where I am now with Elevate, supporting a lot of companies. I think don't want to spend lots of money on HR, understandably, and strategic HR resource can be quite expensive. So our approach is, how can we support companies with that expertise without the price tag? So that's things like fractional work, specific project work that we've done, and then now working on this people protocol platform to provide them with a system which I think is really effective in terms of managing performance, but also just brings in all the data and makes it really, really useful for businesses as well.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, thanks for telling us that. It's an interesting story. Like, you've started a journey with HR, so everything, all what you've done was something related to HR and how you've
Yeah, I'm a
got.
bit of an
Yeah,
HR. I've become a bit of an HR nerd, I guess, which I
yeah.
kind of fell into it initially, and then
Hmm.
I've become quite, uh, I think, obsessed with the way we work, and certainly when you look at things like the pandemic, and after that, with remote working,
Yeah.
introduction of AI now, swathes of layoffs across different industries. We're at a kind of turning point, I think, when it comes to the way we work, and it's scary for a lot of people, because I think the age of the old school career, joining an organization from
Mm.
when you graduate to when you retire, that's gone in most cases, and is on the way out. And I think the future is going to be people working at lots of different types of organizations, which actually is going to give them more leverage and create more wealth and opportunities for them. But it's just a case of, how do we get there in a way that is sustainable, effective for organizations, and is uh, it is kind of palatable to people as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thanks for telling us about that. So, what I'm interested to hear is, so most people in your field, when they get into this HR and working with banks, and is this like the typical career route? They end up like starting their own consultancy, or where did they go? Do they just stay
A lot
on?
of people,
Right.
go. So what tends to happen is, if you specialize in one of the centers of excellence, right? Like, say,
Yeah.
if you go down the pay and reward route,
Right.
that can be a really technical and complex project. When you go into an organization, you're figuring out how you should pay people. That's not payroll, really. That's really more about rewards, equity, bonuses, investing schedules, things like that have to be worked out and calculated, and they spend a lot of time figuring out what's the optimal approach to that kind of thing. So there's a lot of depth in many of the HR centers of excellence. So people tend to specialize down these routes, and they will become an expert in that field. Those that don't, that stay in the HR business partnering lane, tend to go up onto be heads of people or HR directors
Mm.
at organizations as well. So
Right.
there's a few different ways you can go. But
Mm.
generally, some people do start their own consultancies. I think if you've got something you want to bring to the table that perhaps isn't going to work in the organization you're in, or you need to you want to take a different approach, or you want to influence things in different ways, then yeah, you would then start your own company.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Like, yeah, you've got this years of experience, and now you can use that towards your own consultancy and whatever platform they're making. And yeah, so that's great to hear. So we just want to know about like how you, well, mainly based in the UK, and you had the chance to go to Singapore and then from there Japan. What kind of drew you into coming to Japan? Was it more than just something related to a job? Was it more like your personal hobby connection? So what's your connection to Japan other than work?
So I
Yeah.
had developed lots of connections with Japan through
Right.
my work.
Right.
When I was working in Singapore, both of the bosses I had at the time had lived and worked in Japan. One was half Japanese, and they both introduced me to some really interesting people, within the office and outside it. So I was developing connections there. I was traveling to Japan as well. There's lots to see and do here, and I really was attracted by um, just the opportunity to live somewhere different that was that I think gave a lot to in terms of like exploring, and was a whole new place for me that culturally and
Mm.
geographically was very different to the UK. And I was I've always been keen to spend time in places rather than travel lots to lots of different countries. I like to pick a place and spend time there, really get to know it. So
Mm.
I think the challenge there when the opportunity to come to Japan was
Mm.
presented to me. I just jumped at it.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, what you just said there, that's something the same with me. I mean, I've been here many times, and I'm more like a person where I like coming to a place many times to see the culture and everything. So was this like your have you been to Japan like before, like moving? So have you ever traveled to Japan before
Yeah,
actually
I
making the
traveled a
jump?
few times.
Okay,
I,
you
I
did that.
I started traveling in 2014 was my first trip to Japan,
Right.
and then after that, funnily enough, every year after that, I was coming back. Not necessarily
Yeah.
intentionally; it just
Right.
happened to be the way it worked. And particularly after I moved to
Mm.
Singapore, you were so
Hmm.
close;
Oh yes.
it's
Yeah.
easy to do. And so, yeah, it was through those trips I think I developed that connection with the country. And then, yeah, the opportunity came up to move. It wasn't perfect timing for me, but
Hmm.
I will always say these things never are, and you should just jump at the opportunity when you get it, even if the timing isn't right, because the opportunity, the payoff, the other side is quite often quite significant.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, only when you go to some try something new and take that jump, that's where you can know what's
Yeah,
there.
right.
And yeah, I mean, what's also interesting is that there's lots of people from US, but there's less people from UK. So I only know a few people from UK, like in Tokyo. But have you been starting to see based on like people in your field? Are there many people from UK that are coming to Japan doing something similar to as you, or in
I
any?
definitely
Yeah,
think that there is a growing presence
right.
of people from the UK. I've certainly felt after I've started my own business, I've been much more connected in with things like the British Chamber of
Oh
Commerce,
yes, yeah.
who have opened up my network, um, but as well as other people unrelated to any British institution like that. Have introduced me to events and other things that are led by Brits here. So I feel like, well, yeah, there is this quite deep network of people that have been here many a long time, who are sort of very ingrained or integrated into life here, and it's great to meet those kinds of people. Um, I think in terms of more people doing it, it doesn't necessarily need to be the UK, I think, but we're
Mm,
seeing more and more entrepreneurs from outside of Japan come to Japan to work
mm,
and to develop whatever they're developing, and I think that's really cool. There's
yeah.
a ton of great resources here. There's some great infrastructure here, not just in Tokyo either. I think that more organizations start to realize that. And as the outreach continues, we will see more talented groups come in and build whatever they're building here in Japan.
Oh yeah. I've been to quite a few networking events, and yeah, there was like a Techstars event, like it's accelerated program. So I've been to the event recently, and yeah, seen a lot of like startup people, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah, and yeah, personally, I've seen there are some people from UK that are coming here as well. Like some people I know from UK have moved there and everything. So yeah, it's like you said about the industry, the startup industry, it's growing, and there are more like opportunities for business people to make whatever they want. So that's
yeah.
great. And so thanks for that. So we know like you were in UK, and then you went to Singapore, and you came to Japan many times. So now we're interested more about like how did you kind of shift to starting your consultancy? What kind of led you and to do that?
Good
So
question.
yeah, yeah,
I think a couple of things.
right.
One was um, the original sort of genesis came from the fact that I knew I wasn't, my Japanese is not bad, but it's not kind of at the level where I think people would be tripping over to hire me for a
Mm.
role. So
Yeah.
I sort of faced that realistically and said, okay,
Mm.
what can I do here that would enable me to uh, what could I do here that would enable me to continue to grow here and thrive here
Mm.
without necessarily needing
Yeah.
to kind of spend tons and tons of time and years perfecting my Japanese or
Yeah.
even have to move out of the country.
Mm.
And that was an original kind of genesis, but then as I went down this rabbit hole, I realized that actually uh, I wanted to do things on my own terms. I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to to work with clients that I wanted to work with, work on projects that I found really interesting and solve problems that really engaged me. So
Mm.
it was many years ago. In fact, like while I was here during COVID, I guess I started
Mm.
thinking about this, and I did a coding course as well. I took
Mm.
a coding boot camp
Oh,
while I was
nice.
here to try and build up my skills. And then I was just thinking very deeply about what it was I wanted to do, and came up with some different ideas. Sort of trialed a few different bits and pieces, to see what would work. And I eventually, after leaving Broadridge,
Mm.
I thought, well, this is my perfect opportunity to really go for it and go
Mm.
all in on building my own brand and building my
Yeah.
own thing. And I think it's been a year now. It definitely I definitely had a very optimistic, I think, view of what would happen once I
Mm.
went down this route, but
Right.
I've definitely found it to be an incredible learning experience as well.
Mm.
And actually, I embrace all the challenges that come my way because I just feel like I'm just learning something new every day. The people I speak to, the
Mm.
network I build, things I just never prioritized when I was in the corporate world. You suddenly realize the value of these things when you step into owning and running your own business, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That's I believe everyone has shifted from like working full time to starting their own consultancy to actually making your own brand, finding clients, promoting yourself, everything. It's all you realize, like sometimes
Yeah.
how easy it was, or like when you
But
were
there's
in.
also,
Yeah.
I think, one thing I'll say is that there's different levels you can go down. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to start your own business and have your
Mm-hmm.
own brand and all that. You can decide to work
Mm.
fractionally or kind of go down a contract-based route and
Right.
kind of largely keep things similar to how you had them before. If your network's
Mm.
good enough,
Mm.
you can maintain a certain level of status quo, but have a bit more autonomy and a bit more agency in the way you approach work. But I just think there is more and more of an appetite for that. I'm part of a group here in Asia who support, it's for fractional professionals across Asia. They've grown 3-4 times in the last year. Just the size of the network is fast approaching 2,000 people. And it started just 300, if that,
Mm.
and that's within a year that they've grown. And that's really because there's a really strong appetite for people to say, I want to do things my way. I
Mm.
still want to deliver value to companies, but I want to take a different approach and I want to own. I want to do things in a way that doesn't have that. I don't have to give 100% to one company. I
Mm.
can actually, because as we've seen, that's becoming a less and less of a attractive opportunity given the risk involved. And so I think that whilst
Mm.
I've seen a lot of that as well, and I've felt a lot of that, it's really growing. It hasn't hit Japan yet in the same way. I
Mm.
think there's certain things around the Japanese working culture which are slightly different, and approaches to work which are still quite embedded. But young people are changing their outlook, and it will come eventually. And I think that if we see a few success stories and how businesses effectively engage people in a different way, whether that be fractional contract, whatever, consulting, whatever, and actually
Mm.
embed that into their strategic plan. I think that will then people will start to pay attention and see the value.
Mm. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so yeah,
So I went
there's
off on a bit of a tangent there.
yeah, so we got we got fractional work, and then we've got like from like working with agencies, for example, and they source the clients for you and stuff. Like you work on your own schedule, and then the other one is like more like you just do everything yourself, like start your own brand and everything. And
Yeah, and then build a team as
oh
well.
yes, that's right. So when you started your company, I'm just interested more about the early challenges that you faced in terms of getting your first client. So if you could just tell us about that, whatever you feel comfortable about revealing, like how you first of all came across your
Yeah,
first client. Yeah.
I think the I would say that the best thing to do, if you don't have certain roles, like
Right.
lawyers, for example,
Right.
they come with clients kind of pre-embedded, pre-built in. So when they
Mm.
move, they'll take clients with them, and
Yeah.
there's an approach which it's almost plug and play, right? To go
Right.
to,
Right.
and I'm sure there's lots of lawyers that would say, no, of course it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's really difficult. Fair enough, but there are certain roles that are more conducive to that approach of work. I think for roles where it isn't necessarily the case, where you don't take a live client list, or you're not going to be working with a former employer, the best thing to do is to just start networking and really getting out there and talking to people about what you're offering and getting clear on what you're offering. And if you're not clear on what you're offering, talk to more people about what you can do, and
Mm.
you'll eventually come up with where you need to be. Um, but I think, yeah, just the networking has been the lifeblood to opportunities, I think, and it
Mm.
might not necessarily be a pure kind of client to service provider relationship straight away, but it might be a collaboration
Mm.
with a similar organization, or someone that's a bit further down the way, who can actually then open some doors for you and give you a bit of infrastructure and credibility that then allows you to get in front of people and say, well, yeah, I do have the resource to do this, and I can provide you with this kind of support. And I think
Mm.
that going in with a very open mind when it comes to networking, and thinking that not everything is a zero sum game. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And actually, collaborations and networking, even with competitors or would be competitors, is a great thing to do, because together you can achieve more.
Mm. Yeah, I like that because again, like when you get to know people, you don't know what's gonna happen. Like every networking event you go to, you don't know who you're gonna come across with.
I've
So
had some crazy interactions where I've
right,
been supposed to meet someone, and then
right.
someone else has come along, and I've met them, and we've struck up a relationship, and then
Oh,
that's something else, right? You just don't know.
mm.
And I was listening to a talk at a guy, it was when Venture Cafe did a big
Oh,
annual event last year,
right.
and there was a guy here based in Japan who'd been here decades, and he's started loads of different businesses. And he said the thing that, and it really resonated with me, was the thing that you just never know where opportunities are going to come from, and that saying yes to stuff is a great way
Yeah.
to find that. Um, Balance it. You kind of don't want to burn yourself out.
Mm.
Just to say yes to the things you're interested in, I guess. But so when it comes to helping others, I think,
Mm.
so when you're early on, uh, say yes as much as you can, I think, and just add as much value as you can, and the other things come later, I think.
Mm. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we actually met in Venture Cafe Tokyo ourselves, and I knew someone, and then yeah, uh, from that we
Yeah,
just said hello, and yeah, we're here right now. So yeah, of course, these little things happen, and then you never know where it leads to. So okay, so that's how you came across your first client. So you went to a networking event, and then you started
networking
talking.
events. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
I think more so than referrals initially, and the partnerships. I
Okay,
think partnering with others. Yeah.
partnering with others. Okay, okay, that's interesting. So yeah, and they will come across any leads and so on, and then just give it to you and so on.
Yeah, or you
Yeah,
can work on, say, if you bring something different to the table,
right.
you can actually both benefit from a lead,
Mm.
and actually give them add value to their service offering, and they'll add value to yours. So yeah,
Okay, yeah. So yeah, thanks for that. So now we're just more interested in uh, like the difference between like what you're doing here in Japan compared to UK, because you already come from a UK background, you've already been there, and now since you've been here, are there any differences in terms of people, let's say consultant, HR consultants doing the same job in the UK compared to someone who's doing it in Japan now? So where do you position yourself more? Like, are you helping the Japanese, or are you helping like helping both, like the foreigners who are living in Japan, like the foreigners who are living here, or
mm.
what's who? basically who's your like your uh, target audience, and what culture differences, professional culture differences are you facing?
So I think my target audience, my roles, even though I have done roles here as well, I've been predominantly regional or global
Right.
in nature. So
Yeah.
I position myself as being an expert for APAC as a region. So if
Right.
an organization needs some HR advice or needs some help with something or a project, or they need a fractional head of people, Elevate's the perfect service provider for that
Mm.
because we can support a range of different countries across the region. And I have a network of other experts as well, including bilingual people here in
Mm.
Japan who we can bring in as and when an organization needs that kind of support. So I would say that in terms of cultural challenges, I
Mm.
think there's probably in Asia still, when I've been trying to engage other partners, there's a reticence to going alone still, I think, or people are, there's still a lot of emphasis that's put on working in an organization, growing your way through an organization, more so than there is in the UK, I think. And I admittedly haven't lived and worked extensively in the UK in the last 10 years, but it's
Mm.
my experience there is, and people I've spoken to there recently, is that there's more of an appetite to try something yourself or try a different approach to working. Whereas in Asia, I still feel that there's an emphasis on more traditional employment styles, and
Mm.
that the there's a kind of prestige that still comes with being full time and working as a senior person in a large organization as opposed to running your own thing. So there's a bit of that challenge, I think, probably in terms of how people want to think about work here in Asia. That's really when I'm engaging partners, less so when I'm talking to clients. I guess if a client talks to me, it's probably because they have a good grasp of they're talking to me about people's strategy, and many organizations don't even think about people's strategy as something that even needs to be considered.
Mm. So yeah, so people strategy. So if you were to give like if you were to have that perfect balance from the west and east, like if you combine them together, like people strategy is one thing that you're saying that we should implement here, like in Japan. So what other things would be good? Like let's say,
Well, I think if you talk about people's strategy generally, and you
yeah.
think about the cultural benefits, I think
Hmm.
Japan and the people I've worked with in Japan are incredibly diligent and incredibly supportive to one another. I think the sense of team cohesion is incredible, even in foreign organizations. The way Japanese people will think and perceive what needs to happen in advance
Mm.
is really impressive. And I think sometimes in perhaps other cultures, we're a little bit more relaxed with these types of things. We tend to react more in the moment, and
Mm.
we can handle things quite well in the moment. But there is a sense of like, you're showing the swan on the top, and underneath you're kind of paddling away like crazy, right, to try and keep things
Mm.
running or kind of trying to fight fires and stuff. Um, and in Japan, I think there's more of an emphasis on trying to think about what the process is in advance and then just execute on it flawlessly when you get there. So I think bringing a merger of those two together, I really like
Mm.
I like the way of thinking differently you get from other cultures outside of Japan, Western cultures perhaps, but I feel like that's quite a generalization really these days. But I think a combination of trying new things and being willing to fail, and then the team cohesion and support that you get from a culture like one in Japan, bring those two together is I think probably the best of both worlds.
Mm. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that. Some nice tips there for anyone who's listening about who's in Japan, who's doing something similar to Dan. So that's something great. And yeah, so what we're gonna now touch upon is like more about your like day-to-day life. We'll start off like with any of your personal interests, like, and then we'll move on to like what's like your
Yeah.
schedule like. So let's start with like your interests. So whilst doing your consultancy work and everything, how do you like in terms of your leisure, like leisure time, relaxation time?
Well,
What do
I
you
have
do? Yeah.
I have two small children, 1 and
Right.
3.
Right.
So my leisure time is basically spending time with them,
Right.
being with them. So I come
Right.
back to work for the rest, really, after the weekend. So
Okay.
I spend a lot of time with them. We travel
Yeah.
a lot. We're trying to expose them to new experiences
Okay.
and get them to try new things
Mm.
and meet new people.
Yeah.
So that's something we're always trying to do. Um, Recently, I've spent a lot of time, kind of seeing people when they come over to Japan. There's more people coming through now, and so
Hmm.
I try and make time to see and it's a great opportunity to meet old friends
Oh yeah.
and old colleagues and connections and stuff. And I think, yeah, that's a lot of what I've been doing. Um, in terms of like other things, recreationally, I try and balance my health alongside my desire. I like to go out and have a drink with my friends and kind of enjoy myself a little bit. So I have to kind of try and balance that a little bit.
Mm.
And obviously with the kids these days, you don't get so much of an opportunity to do that. But then again, I'm also really focused on what I need to do with Elevate in people protocol product at the moment. And I'm finding that is in itself really fun to have a challenge to tackle. And I don't really see a difference between kind of what I'm doing in work and kind of the enjoyment outside of that. I guess they
Mm.
kind of blend the two. Not always. Sometimes it's a bit of a slog when you've got to do some boring stuff, but there's a kind of a merging of the two that I've found as I've started working for myself, where you're pursuing avenues of genuine interest rather than necessarily just doing something because you've been told to do it. And I think that counts for a lot. And actually, if you can get that right, you don't need to talk about work-life balance because everything blends together. You can actually be really engaged in what you're doing work-wise. And I think that's probably where how I would describe things at the moment.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. It's nice to have that. I mean, waking up every day, doing what you like, or trying to strive to what you want in life, and
Solving problems that you find
yeah.
genuinely interesting, right? I mean, I'm a bit of a tinkerer as well. I love
Mm.
the AI stuff. I've
Mm.
been a gamer back in the day, so I kind of enjoy picking up a computer and
Mm.
playing around with it. And the coding course helped me deal with a lot of the, I think, kind of the
Mm.
intimidating nature of building things and tinkering with things. So I kind of found that was really good.
Mm.
And I've used that. And I'm also continuing my Japanese studies as well. So
Mm.
keeping that up, though, I have to say, I still got a way to go.
Yeah, thanks for that. And what you said about like you come from like a coding background, like a programming background, let's say you've done a course of it. It's quite rare for someone who's in HR to do that. So I think this kind of gives you leverage for what you're doing right now. You can have some sort of a rough understanding, like for example the
Yeah, it's
platform you're
helped
building.
actually, I
Yes.
think. And
Yeah.
then even when you're doing like vibe coding and stuff
Oh
like
yes.
that, you
Yes.
still
Yeah.
get a bit of an understanding of sort of
Yeah.
how things are structured and working, and how to structure data and what to think about in terms of how an app works and how
Mm.
you would typically design an
Yeah.
app. Things like that. Actually, I found them really, really useful, more so than the kind of the detail in coding of a
Mm.
specific function or something like that.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So right now, you were talking about your platform. So yeah, I know in the earlier part of the podcast you spoke about that. If you want to say anything about your platform that you're currently making, or
Yeah,
feel
I
free
think
to do so. Yeah, and then
sure.
yeah,
So I'll keep it brief. So as I
yeah,
say,
sure, sure.
what we're trying to do is you know, change performance management for the better.
Right.
Take it a
Hmm.
new approach that's lightweight, data driven, and trustless, which I think is fair for everybody involved and more useful for founders and investors. We're now hard at work on version one, kind of getting towards version one. We really want to talk to companies that are interested in trying this out and shaping this with us. And actually, if there's anybody in your network who would love to know more and would like to sit down with me and talk about performance in a bit more detail, and maybe get on the wait list for joining our pilot program, we're going to be heavily discounting that because we're going to be using the data from that program to help us refine the initial product. So if people are interested, yeah, they should definitely reach out to me and get in touch via LinkedIn or via email.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for that, Dan. And yeah, before we go into the last part, we just want to say in terms of staying motivated and doing whatever you do every day, what keeps you going? I mean, say
I think
yeah,
I find sometimes, everyone has
mm,
moments where they struggle
mm,
and you feel pretty negative. I find
mm,
it's nighttime. Sometimes, you lie awake at night and you're
yeah,
thinking, am I doing the right
yeah,
things?
yeah,
Is this working?
mm,
Um, and I think changing your environment a little bit can really help with that. So if the following day, get
mm,
outside, go for a run, or kind of
mm,
just think about, change your work environment, maybe
mm,
go and sit with other people. I think, I work from home a lot of the time, and whilst it's very convenient, it can get pretty lonely.
mm,
And I think the best way to solve that is go to co-working spaces.
mm.
There's tons of them that are free, and meet other people, talk about what you're working on. And I think it's a great way to refresh your motivation and get you focused on what you're delivering.
Yeah, I agree on that as well. Yeah, it's like working from home all the time. I mean, yeah, if you get that change of environment, it's gonna motivate you.
Yeah, right.
And yeah,
You move
just
all the time at the moment, right? You're traveling from the UK to here.
oh yeah, so I'm here for a few months, and yeah, just like what you said about using co-working spaces. I'm in Japan, well in Tokyo right now, and just using the TIB space sometimes. And I used to go to WeWork in London, but I'm no longer with them as of now. But I'm gonna be just using some. Uh, yeah, I might consider going to another co-working space, but I just go cafes, co-working spaces,
Nice.
libraries, just anywhere outside.
You're going to do it right. Yeah.
Yeah, I like just being outside. So so anyway,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So what we're gonna do now? I'm just gonna go to the closing part, and that's just basically about any. First of all, we're gonna touch upon this section about any advice you might have, any like some sort of for anyone who wants to start what you're doing. So let's say HR consultant or any consultant that wants to start their own consultancy, start getting their first clients and doing what you're doing. What would you advise to them? Like, what advice would you have for them to get started?
I would
Yeah,
say to them,
yeah,
um, think about what problems you want to solve in HR and what you've seen in your experience. There'll be lots of them um, that you think could be done better. Read around because there's some really interesting stuff that people have tried and have experimented with in organizations that will really inspire you when thinking about how to approach, a specific challenge in HR. And absolutely be growing your network. I think the other thing I kick myself for is that when I was in the corporate world, you spend a lot of time with your head down doing work,
mm,
and you don't think that the networking event you've been invited to or the round table you've invited to is going to be directly relevant. So therefore, you don't bother doing it. But it's so important for yourself as an
mm,
individual, not just for the company. And you need to make sure that you're building your own. It's kind of brand building in a way,
mm,
and I
mm,
think that it's important to try and go along and connect with other people in the
mm,
space. And if you have ideas, then it's a
mm,
great way to share them and to validate them.
mm.
And they could eventually be your next potential clients. You never know.
Okay, yeah, some great advice out there. So, like we mentioned about the networking stuff, of course, networking is one of them. And then you mentioned about um, talking about ideas and stuff, testing it out and getting out in public and not keeping it there. And whoever's working, they should go on to like events and stuff. So again, it will build their
Yeah,
personal brand.
start now.
Yeah,
Don't wait until like there's never a perfect
yeah,
point where you're going to stop working and start entrepreneurship. I think once you've decided you want to do it, even if you're in a job and you have no intention from leaving anytime soon, it's now on you to think like an entrepreneur and think about all the things you could be doing to help you get to where you want to be. And I'd say
mm,
the easiest thing you can start doing is going out and talking to people and
mm,
going to venture cafe
yeah,
events and other startup events and really sort of see what people are doing and what they're working on and help you understand how you could help out in that space. And when it comes to networking as well, I think the other things I've just mentioned is it doesn't have to be this horrible kind of difficult awkward thing, but just actually just go and talk to people, connect with them. Can you help them when you go into a room of people? Think maybe there's somebody here that I could help out, and I'm just here to sort of chat to people and see if there's anyone I can help. And if you go in with that mindset, it's so much easier to then have a normal, natural, relaxed conversation with people in the room than it is to go in thinking, oh, I need to get this thing out of these people. Therefore, there's this pressure that's on you, or people are thinking I'm trying to get something from them. Just try and park that and think about what you can do to help them. That's the only reason you're there, to talk to them, and the other stuff comes later.
Yeah, that's some excellent advice out there. Yeah, I mean, with that mindset, you're just going out there and helping them, and just just seeing, just being open to whatever comes. So if they, if you meet someone, great, and if you don't, you just have a nice time. You learn from people what they're doing
Yeah,
and stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, we just want to say appreciate you having done, and if you want to say anything about your business or anything like that, I mean, we could use this little time here for you to just say whatever you like, whether it's about your new product that you're making or your consultancy. So, and also, can you just tell us about how people can get in touch with you as well? So,
Yeah,
you do
sure.
it.
So,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, the people protocol already,
Right.
that's a kind of big project we're working on at the moment, but that doesn't mean that we're not helping people out with, other people related challenges. And I'd say that regardless of the size of your business, if you're either thinking of establishing in Asia, or you've got a team in Asia and you're wondering how to, you need some help thinking about how better to manage them, or maybe you've got performance issues, retention challenges, or you want some help thinking about pay. We're a great one. We're a great kind of first port of call for everything, right? So you can come to us, and if you reach out to me, I'm always happy to have a conversation with anybody that's got questions. And if I can't help you, I'll probably know someone in my network that can, and I'm always more than happy to recommend other people, other experts that I've worked with who can really add value there. So I'm not going to just work with you for the sake of it. I will direct you to who I think would be the right person for you. So just I'd say reach out to me. My email is dan@elevate.help, or reach out on LinkedIn and chat anytime.
Okay, so yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. So just to let everyone know, yeah, we'll put Dan's information at the bottom of the description, so everything will be there from his LinkedIn to email, and we'll put his website there as well. So yes, so Dan's always here, so please contact him. And we hope you all enjoyed today's show. So yeah, thank you for watching today's episode of Bridging Talks, and take care, everyone. All right, great stuff. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We hope you liked it. Please leave a review, subscribe, or share it to anyone you like. If you're a global founder, or is a professional, or a founder that is interested in doing global business, we would love to hear your story. If you would like to be featured on Bridging Talks, please email me at podcast@bridgingconnect.com, or you can visit our website bridgingconnect.com/podcast. I am your host, Majid Hashmi, and I will see you soon.